Well, hey there, you're on the internet, I have some free time, and welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nib nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at an ink today, shall we? Now, today's ink is one of those old staples of the fountain pen world. Parker Quink Black. Here in cartridges. It has this weird quality that it's known for in its water test. It goes on black, and then when you wash it or rinse it, it turns blue. That's kind of cool. These are the long cartridges, obviously. All the tests were done in this Parker Vector with a fine nib. And I also noticed something else about the chromatography. There's yellow. I mean, like, when you look at the chromatography, there's no black at all. It's all blue. But then there's also yellow, this very bright, near orange yellow up at the top. And just for fun, I sort of wanted to see what would happen if I let it seep into the coffee filter a bit. So after 3 minutes, as you can see, more remained down at the bottom and less traveled. And then I let it dry for 5 minutes, and it was essentially the same thing. There really wasn't much more improvement, but yep. So let's compare some blacks. As you can tell, I kind of added this as an afterthought. But there's Quink Black at the center. Got Pilot Black, which is very, very dark, as you can tell. Noodler's Heart of Darkness. Noodler's Black Eel, which for some reason just like there was extreme shading, so like where it was thin, it was very thin. But and then we've also got Mont Blanc's Mystery Black, which you can see definitely has some purple going on in there. So yeah. Moving on, Clairefontaine, 90 grams per square meter. Oh, I should also say I have included another test throughout these paper examinations. The 1/3 bleach solution, which, you know, I've used to test the Warden's inks. And yeah, I mean, well, yeah, it's really, really gone. But here you start to see some of that yellow. So, I don't know, whatever that yellow is, it does weird stuff with bleach. And here you can see where the black ink was washed, it definitely turned blue. And some of it remained. Not a ton, but some. Maybe in a broader or wetter nib it would remain more, because that pen is kind of a dry writer. 8 seconds to dry, and as you can see, there's shading, which I like in just about every ink except black inks. I like my blacks to be very solid, deep black. But yeah, this ink is like the exact definition of when I say that a weak black is actually a gray, because that is gray. It's a fairly dark gray, but it's a gray. It's not black. So, yeah, no bleeding, feathering, and spread, no echo, no sheen, you know, so except for the color thing, this is a perfectly acceptable black. Or ink in general. But I don't like grays parading as black. The blue thing is kind of cool, but yeah. Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter, 8 seconds to dry. Again, gray. That is my exasperated face. Yeah, so you get shading. If you like shading in black inks, this is a good one. Yeah, pretty much everything about it is okay. No bleed, feather, spread. Not much echo, really. I don't like the weak facet of it. Water test, again, turned blue, which is kind of cool. Some of it's there. More might have remained if it hadn't been such a dry writing fine nib. Here's the bleach test, where again, we get that weird orange-yellow thing going on. But yeah, still mostly gone. Next is Tomoe River Paper, where you almost get sheen in the halo, but you'd have to lay it on really thick. So maybe if you put this in a broad wet nib on this paper, it would do all kinds of fun stuff. But as you can see, this really is just a very dark gray. But again, no bleed, feather, spread, very well behaved. Except for the color thing. perfectly good ink. This isn't bad for a water test for Tomoe River. Loves to let ink slide away. Maybe a broader, wetter nib would do better. Turn blue. Bleach Test. That's essentially gone. There's just a few little bits remaining. Next is 20-pound copier paper, where here it definitely looks closer to black than gray, but it's still a very weak, watery black. 4 seconds to dry. There is some spread. As you can see, the lines got broader. There is some feathering. There's some bleed. Or no, there is no bleed. Sorry. Ugh. Again, turned blue. This might be the best water test we've seen so far. It's very clear, very there. Bleach Test, again, might be kind of impressive. It's very orange, but what's orange is still pretty there. So, it's very light orange, though. Next is Mead Notebook Paper, where I said more like a weak black than a dark gray, so that's kind of nice. Again, you get shading if you're into that. Yeah, not much spread, no bleed, no feathering. Again, pretty decent water test, although I think it's interesting. I'm going to try and get this on camera. Here you see some of that yellow like we saw in the chromatography, which I think is kind of cool. Bleach Test, yeah, mostly obliterated it, but yeah, so Quink Black on this cheap notebook paper behaves very well. Just not if you don't want it to shade. Last is Moleskin notebook paper. And I said here it would appear old Moleskin paper equals better paper. Because this is from an old notebook that I found and I sort of cut the pages out. So I don't know, maybe back in the oldie days, Moleskin had decent paper, but in the last decade, not so much. 6 seconds to dry. No bleed, feather, spread, some shading. It's a decent pen, paper, and ink combo except for the color. But again, that's a personal opinion. Not a bad water test. It turned blue. It's fairly there, fairly dark. The bleach test is just a mess. Like here, it's very hard to read. Like just that. But yeah. So there you go. That's Parker Quink Black. It turns blue when you wash it. And it has some weird orange-yellow thing going on. It's a perfectly good black. Good flow, doesn't bleed, feather spread very much, does well on cheap papers, in, you know, a fine nib. It's a perfectly good ink. I just personally do not like much shading in my black inks. Other than that, fantastic. So for your consideration from the Triple N Network, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel. And thanks for watching. Bye.